What's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you support the channel. Hit that like button, share the video. Also subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Also hit that bell notification button so you could be alerted anytime I drop new content. And also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BoxingWave10. Alright, let's talk about this fight. Billy Joe Saunders against Canelo Alvarez. This is my ultimate breakdown for this fight. Very excited for this fight. I've always wanted to see this fight, even at 160. I just thought that it was a great stylistic matchup. I'll get right into that in a minute. This fight here is going to be for the three of the four major titles in the 168, the super middleweight division. Canelo has 2 titles going into this fight, and we know that Saunders has 1. All right, there's only 1 other belt left, and the winner hopefully can have an undisputed matchup with Caleb Plant, who holds a title as well over there on the PBC. All right, so hopefully we can get an undisputed champion by this year. Hopefully, we'll see. We know that Canelo Alvarez is already in the works and trying to secure that fight if he does win this fight against Billy Joe Saunders. All right, Saunders, he's undefeated, 2 division champion, WBO champion, held the title at 160, lost the title leading up to defending it against Demetrius Andrade, where he actually popped 30 on the test, all right, for illegal or banned substance, and that fight never happened. All right, the fight just didn't happen. Billy Joe moved up, won the title at 160 at super middleweight, and now he's the WBO champ at 160, fighting against Canelo. We know Canelo Alvarez, one of the cash cows of boxing. He's been in there with Floyd Mayweather, Irizlani Lara, Sergey Kovalev, Daniel Jacobs, Miguel Cotto. He's been in there with a whole bunch of people at this point. All right, Shane Mosley. We can keep going on and on. Right, Canelo's a star, and this is his 4th division being a champion. All right, so he is at this point in his stage of his career, he's just trying to be undisputed, and Billy Joe is looking to be the first one to beat him since Floyd Mayweather. All right, so look, before we get into the actual breakdown of the fight, let's talk about a little bit about the drama leading up to this fight. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the drama leading up to it because I was kind of expecting some drama. Billy Joe Saunders talk a lot. He's an antic kind of guy. There's a lot of antics with him leading to a fight, and sometimes even outside of the ring, completely in his own personal life. He's always caught up in something, right? But basically, the first issue was the judges. Now, I don't know. I don't have the contract in front of me. I don't know what was said and what was agreed upon in the contract. But the first issue was the judges, the selection of the judges. Team Billy Joe Saunders wanted 1 Mexican judge, 1 American judge, since the fight is in Texas. The fight is in Texas, all right? And 1 British judge. I don't know what judges were selected for this fight, but apparently that's not what we got. All right, we didn't get 1 Mexican, 1 British, and 1 American judge. Saunders wanted this because he wanted to be fair. I brought this up. I spoke a little bit about this briefly, maybe about a week ago. Made a video, and basically I said in that video, look, this is not a new thing. All right, would I like everything to be completely even in every fight? Yes. Would I like that as a boxing fan? Absolutely. I would love things to be fair every single fight, whether you're a cash cow or not. The reality is, this is boxing. This A-side cash cow thing has always been around, and it's not going anywhere. All right, I'm not saying that this is an advantage for Canelo because judges are supposed to be fair. They're supposed to be fair whatever they judge a fight, but this is boxing. We see robberies all the time. I hope we don't get a robbery here. All right, I hope things play out fair. If Billy is to win this fight in majority of people's eyes, hopefully he wins fairly. All right. But I guess the judges weren't selected in a way that was agreed on. What are you going to do? You know, this is Canelo Alvarez. You wanted this fight. You and every other guy at 168 was waiting around to see if you got a shot at Canelo Alvarez. Same with the guys at 160. A lot of you guys, 160, 168, weren't fighting each other because you were waiting for an opportunity to fight Canelo Alvarez. I would like things to be fair, all right? But this fight should go down. Whether or not you got the judges you wanted, it should go down, you know, at the end of the day. This shouldn't stop a fight, and it's not stopping the fight. All right, so the fight is going down. Whatever judges are selected, hopefully those judges do the right thing. Hopefully. And that's the end of that. That's all I gotta really say. As far as being fair, again, I brought up this point before. You weren't being fair when you were going into a fight with Demetrius Andrade on illegal substances and you got caught cheating for it. All right, and not only that, but you didn't go back and fight Andrade clean. You moved up in weight and totally ducked him. All right, so you weren't being fair there. So that's a response to Billy Joe Saunders. And I'm not saying that Canelo is completely innocent, because this judge thing is only brought up because of Canelo's history of close fights. You know, having the judges scored a draw against Floyd Mayweather, judge, you know, scoring it wide in the first Triple G fight, and, you know, the Lara fight. You can also bring in the fact that a lot of people felt that Lara won that fight. People thought that the judges has always been in Canelo's favor when there were close fights. All right, you even bring up Austin Trout, whatever fight you want to bring up. So that's why it's there. I'm understanding of that. But at the end of the day, you got to take the fight. You're in there to fight. Do what you got to do to win the fight. You wanted your opportunity, your shot at Canelo. Do what you have to do to win. You know, not everything is fair. This is boxing. Unfortunately, it is what it is. All right, take the fight. You took the fight. You got to win the fight. All right. The second thing this week, I didn't really address this all week because I didn't really care about it. Basically, a couple days ago, Tom Saunders, who is Billy Joe Saunders' father, had an interview basically saying that the fight was canceled because the ring size was an issue. I guess these guys agreed on the ring size being at least 22 feet. I think Team Canelo wanted an 18 feet ring first, okay, and then they said that they wanted a 20, and they did away with the 20. They said, all right, we agreed with the 20, and then now it's a 22 feet ring, all right. I believe Billy Joe's team wanted 24. Listen, I really don't care. I saw the interview, and it was fixed all within a few hours, okay. Everybody went crazy with it, thought the fight was canceled. I mean, I saw the interview. They threatened. They basically said, yo, sorry for everyone that bought tickets. The fight is not happening. It is what it is. Like, I saw it and I said, I just think that they're either A, getting into Canelo's head, you know, by demanding something that they want. That's clearly an advantage based on the styles. It would be more of an advantage for Billy Joe if the ring is larger because he's a mover. And it would be more of an advantage for Canelo if the ring is 18 feet because he's not a mover. All right? He doesn't want to chase anyone. So either way, both fighters want things to be their way. You get what I'm saying? This is a clear fighting advantage for both fighters. Big ring for Billy, small ring for Canelo. They worked it out, and that's all I care about. I never thought the fight was canceled or in danger of being canceled. All right, it's just that these guys got to work their magic one way or another. It's handled. I believe they're fighting in a 22-foot ring. It wasn't going to change my stance on the fight at all. I'm not saying that it's not a factor. It's just that as I break this fight down, you will know why I would not really think it's going to be that much of a difference whether the ring is huge or it's not. All right? But I understand both fighters, you know, want it to be done a certain way. Canelo's a flat-footed guy. Billy is a mover, very light on his feet. So I understand. But whatever. It's handled. Who cares? All right, so I just spent 10 minutes talking about the drama leading up to the fight, everything leading up to the fight. Let's get into the actual breakdown. Now, this is the reason why I love this fight. I love this fight because I always like Saunders' style. When he's on his A game, I admire his style. I like him, and these are his strengths. I like him because of his hand speed. I like his footwork. I think he's very light on his feet. And when I say that, I don't think he's light and he just moves like Erislandy Lara. They don't fight the same. They're both southpaws, and I see why people like to compare the two because of the way that they fight. There are some comparisons there. All right, but Billy is different from Lara. Billy is a guy that, first of all, and I'm talking about Lara of then. I'm not talking about the older Lara that doesn't move as nearly as much. If you saw the Castaño fight, if you saw the Hurd fight, Lara clearly doesn't move that way no more. He's more willing to stay in the pocket and exchange. It's not the old Lara, but Lara from back then, talking about the Lara that fought Canelo, the Lara that fought Angulo, that was a Lara that moved a lot, a whole lot. He used the entire ring. All right, so that's the way Lara fought back then. And he gave Canelo a lot of issues because he was a southpaw. He was a sniper with that straight left hand. And he moved a lot. He frustrated Canelo with the feinting and the changing directions and constantly resetting himself. He gave Canelo issues with that. Billy Joe doesn't fight that way. I'm not saying he might not try to fight that way in this fight because he's looking to have an advantage over Canelo. But Billy Joe does not fight like Lara. First of all, offensively, he has a lot more weapons. All right. Punch variations are different. You know, selection is different. Billy Joe likes to be in a little bit closer. He's more of a risk taker than Lara. Lara for the most part had one tool that he's perfect at doing, and that's shooting that straight left hand. All right. Billy is more like a guy that wants to step around you. He uses his angles. He throws combinations. He tries to beat you off countering, and he's using his hand speed to have an advantage over you. He's different from Lara. Lara is just more like a pot shotter, whereas Billy is more like, you know, I'm going to take more risks. You know, I'm going to engage sometimes. At times, I'm going to engage, but I'm going to pick my spots to do it, okay? But, you know, he can move. He can use the whole ring. Yes, he can do that. He did that against David Lemieux. But there were times that he constantly took risks. He just picked his shots to do it. Whereas Lara, one punch, and then I'm going to move. Then I'm going to move a little bit more. I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to move a little bit more. It was so much movement that people hated the fight. They hated his style, and they didn't care about the punches landed because they felt like Canelo was being the aggressor. Plus, he was going to the body a lot. All right, so Billy is different from Lara in that sense, all right? But those are his advantages. The hand speed, all right? The counter punching, all right? He could fight any way. He can sit in the pocket. He can hold his own in the pocket, something that Lara was never really great at doing. He's doing it a lot more now because he's older and he doesn't have the legs to keep moving. But Billy can hold his own in the pocket. Is he on Canelo's level? Absolutely not. But that is one of his strengths, right? His angles, stepping around his opponent. He's usually great at his footwork is much like better, quicker than the majority of the fighters that he faced. He moves a lot better, you know? So he can make a guy like a David Lemieux look bad, all right? Stepping around him all day. Because David, very flat-footed, doesn't really set up his punches. Was easy to do that with him, all right? So that's mostly Billy's advantages here. And plus, we haven't really seen Canelo fight against a mover in a very long time. Not like Billy, all right? So that's what makes this fight intriguing, pretty much. On the other hand, we have Canelo Alvarez, who can pretty much do everything. All right? He could sit in the pocket and feel comfortable engaging in the pocket with bigger guys. great body snatcher. He attacks the body like no other in this sport right now. All right? He's able to have good defense on the inside and out. Great head movement. And when he's in, he knows how to tighten that guard and able to trade without really getting hit much. He doesn't take much damage. He knows how to turn the punches well. He knows how to set up the shots. Great jab. All right? Not a constant jab. He uses the jab sometimes to close the gap. Sometimes he could just use his head movement to close the gap. Not only that, but he's good at gauging distance. He's very good at that. A lot of people are talking about Saunders' movement in this ring, how he wants to run, how he's going to be, dancing around and trying to stay on the outside. I think Canelo is much better at stepping in and hitting and landing shots, especially to the body from far out, than he gets credit for. All right? Billy's going to be on the move, and I'm sure Billy is going to be on the outside and looking to keep it a distant fight. But Canelo is going to be landing shots from outside, especially to the body, and it's not no real way to stop that. I haven't seen anyone be successful with that, including Erislandy Lara. Lara, no matter how much movement he did in that fight, Canelo was able to consistently land hooks to the body from outside. Those long loop-in shots, yes, he was lunging at times, but he was hitting his target. It was the head hunting that was a little bit problematic for Canelo in that fight against Lara. All right, but Billy Joe, again, not the same fighter. Not going to be the same outcome. Doesn't mean it's going to work for Canelo. Plus, Canelo has more experience now fighting different southpaws. It's much more experience. The Lara fight was years ago. It had to be at least 5 years ago at this point. All right? He's fought Floyd since then. He fought Canelo. He's fought Lara. He's fought guys like Cotto. Fought guys like Danny Jacobs that was switching back and forth from righty to lefty. You know what I'm saying? He's fought these guys. So he has an idea of what to do with a guys like Billy. Billy's not bringing anything new to the game. Yes, he can give Canelo problems because of all of those reasons I stated before about the hand speed, the counter punching, all right? The footwork, the angles. Yes, he could give Canelo problems. Absolutely. Does he have a chance of winning this fight, outboxing Canelo? Absolutely. But we've seen Canelo adjust so many times before. Even a guy like Amir Khan, and I know he's not a southpaw, right? Khan is not a southpaw, but Khan was able to get off on Canelo, landing combinations on Canelo, all right? Because of that hand speed, because he knew how to stay out of range, all right? He was giving Canelo issues with the feinting, the movement, all right? Changing directions. He was doing a lot of things that I expect Billy Joe to do as well, all right? But the one thing Canelo kept working on, no matter how many rounds you think Canelo gave up in that fight against Amir Khan, no matter how many rounds you think Khan won, one thing Canelo kept doing, just like he was doing in the Lara fight, was going to the body. Constantly. And these guys at some point had to defend the body, which Khan was doing. But Khan got faked out with a body shot and caught one up top, because that is what Canelo does. He works and works until he gets the results he wants. And if he's down on points, he'll make the adjustments, the necessary adjustments, in order to win the fight, to get the advantage back, because that's what makes him great. I haven't seen Billy Joe be in a position where he's down, he's losing the fight, but he had to make the adjustment to win. I've seen Billy Joe in fights where he was down or he was winning the fight, and then he suddenly started losing the fight because of conditioning issues. We seen it in the Eubank Jr. fight. We saw it in the Akbar fight. We saw it in the Andy Lee fight. Even when he won that fight and won the title, Andy Lee, yes, he hurt Andy Lee. I think he dropped him a couple times. But Andy Lee brought the fight back to him and won the second half of the fight. All right? The only thing is, unfortunately for Lee, Lee got knocked down a couple times. So that's why he lost on points. But Billy Joe slowed down. He slowed down against Eubank Jr. Eubank was putting a lot of pressure on him, bullying him on the inside. You know, again, Billy, defensively, yes, he can hold his own on the inside. Offensively, yeah, he can land some good shots, you know. But Canelo, that's his game. That's his game. All right, that's what he's great at. All right, so Canelo, yes, he's not as light on the feet. We don't know how Canelo's going to look against a guy like Saunders today because we haven't seen him fight a guy that moved as well as Khan and Lara. And that was a long time ago, all right? But we saw what he did to Khan, all right? The Lara fight, listen, he's experienced that. So you would think he would do better the next time he fights someone that moves that much. But I still don't think Billy Joe moves that much. There's not been one fight where I saw Saunders move that much in a fight. All right. Another thing is resumes. I mentioned earlier Canelo, who he's faced. Gave you a long list of guys that he's faced. Different types of fighters, different styles. Guys he adjusted to, got better at during the fight. Saunders doesn't really have the resume. And not only that, but when you're comparing the level of opposition between the two, Saunders had tough fights against fighters that he was supposed to clearly beat. One thing I'll say about Billy is I'll give him credit. When it's time to step up, he steps up. All right? I think he fights better on the level of opposition. Definitely. But there's still no one there that's even closer to Canelo or that I could say can do that can fight like Canelo. Defensively, offensively, Saunders doesn't have anyone there. Anyone that you can even compare Canelo with. No one is there. You know, the best fighters he's fought, Eubank, who was young at the time too, who's improved since that fight. Andy Lee, Willie Monroe Jr., you know, Martin Murray was his last fight. He fought Caceres in the fight before that, in a fight that he was struggling in. It was a very competitive, debatable fight. You know, Billy won. He got the stoppage late, but he was in trouble a lot in that fight. He struggled in that fight. If Canelo was to fight any of these guys that Billy faced, it wouldn't have been as close. Not nearly as close. Not nearly. All right? And you can't blame it on size because Canelo's been in there with Callum Smith. All right? Been in there with Sergey Kovalev. He's been in there with Rocky Fielding, who's at the level of many other fighters that Saunders has been facing over the years. All right? So you have to give the resume to Canelo and experience as Canelo because he's far exceeded in as far as like the level of opposition that they both face. There's different levels. Okay, and Canelo has stopped guys that are much better than Billy Joe Saunders' opponents. All right, now I don't base everything on that because I base a lot of things on styles, and I do think Billy has the style to give Canelo problems. What Billy needs to do, yes, Billy needs to move, but Billy needs to command respect early. We need him to keep that fight in the center of the ring. Square up early. And I mean, stay on it at least for a few rounds. I see guys give up the advantage to Canelo. I think Callum Smith did it right away. Because Canelo will pressure you without throwing punches. He wants to be all up on you. He wants to smother you or make you feel like he's up on you. Comes in with that tight guard. He's moving his head. All I know is that Canelo is constantly coming forward. He's been doing that since the Triple G rematch. In the first fight with Triple G, he was the guy moving. People say he was flat-footed, but he's constantly moving around. At points, he's running from Triple G. But in the second fight, he kept in the center of the ring. Triple G couldn't back him down. And now he's coming at every single opponent. Doesn't matter how big they are. He's coming at them. He's trying to close a gap. So what Billy needs to do is hold his ground and sit on the ring. He needs to stay there and he needs to square up. You know, he can still move while things are close. He doesn't have to use the entire ring. But if you are going to use the ring, keep your back off the ropes at all times, because Canelo wants you there. That's where Canelo is able to work his magic. Ask Callum Smith. Ask Chavez Jr. Ask whoever. That's where Canelo wants you, on the ropes. Stay there, touch it, but keep moving. You know? If you're going to be there, don't be there too long. Feint. Constantly feint. Keep a jab out there. Keep something out there for Canelo to think. You know? Canelo, on the other hand, Canelo just need to do what Canelo does. I don't know if he's going to be better at cutting off the ring. I'm assuming he should be at this point. Yes, his feet are kind of slow compared to Billy's, but he makes it work for him. All right? Use those counters to the body. Well, even if they're not a counter, attack the body. Even if you're giving up a couple of rounds early, just keep attacking the body like you did with Khan. You gave up some rounds to Khan in order to get that knockout. Go to his body. Keep digging to the body. Then fake him up top. Just start landing up top. But Canelo, at the very least, if Billy is going to move, if he's going to stay out of range and constantly move, attack the body. Hook to the body. Counter to the body. You know? But feint, use that jab, and just keep marching forward. But if he's going to be moving, he's going to do all this Lara stuff. If he's going to take that route, and that's the reason why they wanted this huge ring, if he's going to do it, then you got to close. You got to cut the ring off. Cut it off. All right? Don't follow Billy in a straight line. We don't want that. You know? That's going to be an issue. All right? So I think I pretty much gave my views on how both fighters are going to win this fight, or should win. I think Billy would definitely win on points if he is to win. There's no, based on his history and his performances in his other previous fights, there's no way that I can see him stopping Canelo. All right, I just can't see it. Billy likes to touch a lot. He likes to slap a lot. He don't really sit down on his punches like that. And I don't think this is going to be the fight where he's going to be doing much of that. Okay? Even against Lemieux, and I know a lot of people are looking at the Lemieux fight and looking at his performance. That was his best performance to date, by far. But Lemieux doesn't do anything better than Canelo. All right? Lemieux was a guy that, yes, he's an orthodox fighter. Yes, he has a lot of power, but he wasn't setting up his shots at all. He wasn't cutting the ring off on Billy. He was just following Billy in a straight line. And he was just throwing nothing but power punches and haymakers. Billy was able to slip those shots and step around him time after time and counter him. It was just too easy. Too easy. Canelo is not like that. All right? And yes, Canelo might not be as light on his feet, but Canelo moves and utilizes his feet very well. You have to watch it. It's not just slow, and he's not a mummy just coming forward. He's improved dramatically since that. All right? He has great angles himself. He shifts his bodies well, and he moves his head well. He feints well. He knows what he's doing. This is not the David Lemieux fight. So if Billy is going to use those same tactics, he got to understand he has to be cautious, because David Lemieux was easy. You saw what he was doing before he even threw the punch. So you got to have a different approach when it comes to Canelo. Plus, you got to worry about the body shots. Canelo's going to be jabbing to the body. He's going to be throwing looping right hands to the body. He's going to be He's going to be countering and throwing left hooks to the body. You got to be careful. How many of those body shots can Saunders take? Is it going to slow down? How is Saunders going to deal with conditioning late? You know, he's had problems with conditioning late in the fights in the past, and he's not always consistent. Canelo has had conditioning issues in the past against Austin Trout, you know, against Angulo. Okay, other fights back in the day, yes, against Triple G in the first fight, but he's worked on that. I don't know if Saunders is better with conditioning. I know he's prepared. I know he's going to be ready for this fight, but I have to see it to believe it. Again, I think Saunders could win on points, but he has to take some risks, and that's the dangerous part. He could win on points, but he has to take some sort of risk. He has to land hard shots. It didn't work for Lara. It wasn't enough. It doesn't matter how many times Lara landed some straight lefts. It wasn't enough. Those slapping shots, you might not get any credit for it. Canelo's landing big right hands and hooks to the body. He's going to get more points for that. You know, so I think Canelo is capable, a lot more capable of hurting Billy. Not only just because of his power, but just because Billy has not fought anyone on his level before. And when the pressure is in and those body shots start affecting you and you're slowing down, especially when you're the mover of the two and your defense and your everything relies on your footwork. Once that's gone or it's not as effective and you slow down, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you're forced to be in a pocket with Canelo? How long can you survive? I think Canelo has a chance of stopping him, but I think Canelo is going to win by points. I think his punches are just going to be more effective, the ones that land. The reason why I think this is going to go to a decision, because I think Billy is going to be able to survive because of his movement and because of the clinching. All right, I think Billy will be able to survive, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for him. All right, I think Billy is going to do extremely well the first half of the fight. I think Canelo will make some adjustments, all right, and keep the pressure on him, and he'll start taking over, after maybe 3 or 4 rounds. Canelo will start taking over. All right, but it should be a very good technical fight between the two. I can't wait to see it, man. I can't wait. I'm not completely writing Billy off, because I do think he's better than, as far as from a technical standpoint, I see Billy have a better chance of beating Canelo over anybody else in that division on points. But I'm picking Canelo because I already seen what he's done at his very best, and I don't know if Billy is on that level. All right, we'll see. All right, so I got Canelo by decision. Again, make sure you subscribe to that channel, hit that like button, support the channel, share the video, and I'll see you guys Saturday night. Peace.